Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how I made these funny little chickens using Simon Hurley's new stamp set, Spring Chicken. Let's get started. All right. Hey, everybody. So thank you, Simon and Ranger, for inviting me to guest design for you guys again this month for Simon Hurley's new release. And I got a few of the things they sent me, which was really super cool. And there's this really neat pull-apart rubber stamp. It is called Darling Dahlias. And it does Spellbinders. You can get the dies from Spellbinders and the stamp, and I'll leave a link down below. And then we've got the paint swatches, and I can see these being used all the time. And we've got some stencils. So we've got the stencil warped circles. And this is a layering stencil. This is geo circles. And then this really cool like Art Deco stencil called Deco Diamonds. Then there's the stamp set called Framed Florals. And they're large stamps with some cool sentiments. And then this is my little true love right here. I love chickens, okay? It's no secret. I love chickens. This is my very favorite stamp that Simon has put out. All in all, chickens! Yay! You're one cool chick. Thanks for being extraordinary. So glad you're one of my peeps. That's my favorite. Hey chick, cluck. Cock-a-doodle-doo. You're still a spring chicken. It's your birthday. So a lot of cool sentiments to go along with it. And on the frame florals, we've got just 4 sentiments, but they're really lovely sentiments. And then, dun 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 dun, here comes the new lunar pastes. So we've got Crown Me. We've got No Diving. We've got Rosy Cheeks. And we've got Guppy. And I'm going to be using the No Diving today for the background of this little card. I'm going to show you how I made this card. And he's on a action wobbler because nothing's funnier than a wobbly chicken. So let's get everything out of the way and we'll get started here. Alright, so I'm going to grab my stencil. First off, we need to do the background first. And I'm going to grab out my chickens, and I do have the dies that go with those. So these also come with dies. Well, they don't come with dies, but you can purchase dies to cut them out if you like. Look at those little baby chickens too. I mean, come on, you guys. So I've got here some Stark White cardstock from Simon Hurley, and I'm going to be doing my background on that. And I'm going to grab some inks. So I'll start with inks. So I've got Shooting Star, and I'm going to grab Bee Sting. So those are going to be my main colors that I use today, but I'm also going to be using some Guppy. So just to kind of honor the colors. And of course you saw this is going to be very brightly colored. I start out, yeah, I had to do a do-over because I started out with the wrong color, as you can see. I'm just going to tape this to my card, tape the stencil to my card, so it doesn't move around on me. And I'm going to start with doing the bee sting. And I'm just going to grab a soft brush and just brush that in, and I want it on there pretty heavy. So this stuff builds up. You can build it, and I'm pressing pretty hard and going back and forth pretty quickly. And of course I have this sped up to help you out because yeah, who needs to watch somebody slowly stencil something unless you're sitting there on a live and we're all chatting with each other, and that's a different story. But for a pre-recorded video, let's speed things up here. So you can see I'm going over and making sure that it's all nice and dark. All right, so there's layer 1. Now I'm going to clean up my mess here a little bit and clear up my stencil. I've got just a little alcohol wipe here that I'm cleaning with. And you can see there on my stencil where some of the like coating peeled off when I used some Spellbinders tape on it when I made the earlier one. Now I'm going to take the other stencil, and do you see where I'm laying that? It's hard to describe, but basically the diamonds are laying, the filled diamonds are laying in between. Let me get it up close here for you. Do you see how I've got basically X's in the center of those diamonds? Let me get that on there straight, because now that I brought it up closer, I can see it's not very straight. Let me get another piece of tape too, because that tape feels like it's going to come loose. It might not, but since it feels that way, I'm going to go with it and say it probably will. And I'm just laying my stencil down right where I want it, and then I'm just going to flip the whole thing over and tape it down. And for this one, you know, you want a lot of tape, because I'm going to be using lunar paste, and I want this to sit nice and flat. I don't want any of the lunar paste to come up underneath. So make sure that's really taped down well. I don't need to tape the whole structure to anything, because I've got my media mat here, and my media grip, and it grabs everything. So I've got my little palette knife thingy, and I've got the no diving lunar paste, and I'm just gonna start spreading it on. I don't want to go too thick because I want it to dry. And notice I'm kind of going in a diagonal direction. Try not to go back and forth, you know, best I can. You know, if I need to get more lunar paste on there, I will. And I've ripped through a bunch of this lunar paste already. I just got it. Just happen to love this color, and it really is beautiful. So just like spreading mayonnaise on a sandwich here, I'm spreading the lunar paste and making sure that it's filling in all the spots, scraping from places that I have excess to put on other places so I don't have so much waste. I can scrape up the rest and put it back in the jar as well. And that's what you see me doing here, is just scraping off that excess and just putting it back in the jar. And that part is done. We will set that aside to dry. Let me go ahead and wipe off my palette knife. Wipe off my fingers. Carefully peel back. And see, this looks cool like this already. And I'm not going to try and take that tape off right now. I'm just going to set the whole thing aside someplace where I won't get my fingers in it and let it dry. And then I'm going to use that same alcohol wipe that I had before and clean off my stencil and stuff. And then I'll go ahead and add some water. But I want to get the most of the muck off with the with the dirty, the already dirty cloth. And I recommend on a stencil like this, washing it afterwards, because the lunar paste can get caught up in those tiny little corner things. So I do like to, if I use an alcohol wipe, I like to also clean it off with a little water so that it doesn't leave any alcohol. And I want to wipe that alcohol off best I can. All right. See, there's some in that little corner that's going to bug me, because I'm worried that the next time it won't get the corner like I want it to. So you can always just go scrub it off in the sink. Anyway, let's get to work on our chicken here. I'm going to use this little rooster here. For my original prototype, I used the other rooster, so I need 2 different roosters. And I prefer roosters to chickens, but I like chickens too. Just roosters have more feathers, and I like feathers. And I'm just kind of priming this stamp with my fingers so it stamps down well. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my mini MISTI and grab another piece of paper. And I'm going to continue to use this Simon Hurley Stark White. I cut mine up once I receive it, and then I just put that label in there so I know what it is, because I have so many kinds of paper. Alright, so I'm going to just hold this down here and just place my chicken somewhere. And I'm making room so I can use, you know, the paper for other things. So I'm going to stamp him in bee sting. Make sure I get plenty of ink on there, and I may have to go 1 or 2 times to make sure that I have full coverage. Oh, look at that chicken. Oh my gosh. I just smiled the whole time I was making this card. And I will smile every time I get these chickens out. Be cool for like a little farmhouse motif. So do you see what I'm doing here? I'm grabbing now some Versamark and then adding more ink. Now I'm doing that for 2 reasons. One of them is that at this point I can emboss on top of the dye ink because I've made it sticky. But I've also made my chicken sticky, but it just doesn't want to stamp in that one spot. So I'm trying to make sure that I get a good stamping going there. I want that deep, deep red. There we go. Just see, I'm stubborn. I don't give up until it's stamped down. I don't care if I have to stamp 100 times. I don't care. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use my anti-static powder tool now because I'm going to be painting this. And I'm just tapping it on. I'm not rubbing because I don't want to smear any ink. And then I'll go ahead and use the Versamark ink again. And then I'll clear emboss with, you know, clear embossing powder. That ensures that my, you know, my painting stays where it's supposed to stay. And, you know, gives it a little bit of dimension and shine. I do a couple of rounds there. Let's go ahead and turn on my heat tool and grab my clear embossing powder. So you can emboss any of these inks, you just do it after. See, I like how that's nice and red now. Alright, let's get chicken out of the way, get embossing powder out of the way, and go ahead and melt this embossing powder. You want to make sure you get every bit of it, but look at how that makes that red so vivid. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Because one thing I love more than chickens is red. It's my color. Alright, he's ready to rock. I do want to cool him down just a little bit here. So I'm going to grab some water, and I'm grabbing Shooting Star here. And I'm going to get this part wet. I don't generally do that. Simon does it. I forget to do it, to be honest with you. And I'm just going to paint the chicken's body yellow, with Shooting Star. I don't know. Oh, I was trying to clean up where I went over, I think. Bringing this chicken to life. Look at his face. I'm cracking up watching this video because of that chicken. That rooster, I should say. That screaming rooster. Okay, so I've got the yellow parts that I need. And this is super easy to paint. I'm not doing any shading or anything fancy, just putting down color. So let's go ahead and grab the guppy. And then I'm going to paint his little neck stripes the guppy color, and I'll do his little beak in the guppy color. Just doing one of his stripes, so I'm going to be adding some also no diving. And I'm going to go every other feather I'm going to do with the guppy. Super quick and easy. Alright, let's grab the no diving. Clean off my brush a little bit. A nice bright blue. Get a little bit of water and then just get the blue down. I'm going to leave his eye white. And I'll leave the little part, that little checkered part of his body, white and red as well. So all I have left to do is the tail feathers. See how easy? This is why, though, you want to make sure to use anti-static powder, because if you have got any embossing powder in those parts, they won't paint. So you can do a couple coats if you want to. I don't need to. I'm perfectly happy with Chicken the way he is. Now I'm going to grab you can see I've got extra chickens in my bag already. I love these chickens. Alright, let's make sure I grab the right one. So these are the largest ones, so it's going to be one of the large ones. It's not going to be that one. So it stands to reason it's going to be the other large one. I haven't gotten any magnetic sheets for these things yet, but I want to, because it's kind of hard to get them in and out of that bag. So I'll go ahead and tape this down, and I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to cut out more than one chicken, and you'll see why. Just grab a little mint tape, make sure that's evenly around them, and let's get them cut out. Be right back. Now here's my background piece, and it's dry now, and I've got my chicken cut out, my rooster. Sorry, rooster, if you're offended if I keep calling you a chicken, but it's just a generalization. Okay, I can see a little couple pieces of that are still wet, but I'm going to cut out another chicken with this white. All right, this is dry. And you see I've got another white chicken, and I cut a chicken out of craft cardstock as well. And I just want to reinforce him because he's going to be bouncing around. We'll finish the background first, though. I'm just going to take my heat tool to it and make sure that it's fully dry. Alright, I'm just going to let it sit a little longer, I guess. So I'm going to glue the white to directly to the back of the chicken. And this is some 110-pound accent opaque, so it's very heavy cardstock. If you have thinner cardstock, you might want to do 2. And I'm not looking for perfection with my gluing here, just gluing it. I'm just wanting to add, add some strength to my focal point here. And then I'm going to use the craft cardstock as a shadow layer, so I'm going to offset it a little bit. Because the background is so busy, you really need just that little bit of extra. And not a bunch, maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/16 of an inch, just a little bit. And it'll also add that strength again. Okay, I'll lay him down. Get him laying where I want him. And he's ready to roll. He's ready to cluck. He's going to look cute on there. I found that pattern with that stencil by accident because I did it wrong, and I'm like, I love that. just like the way that looks. But I need some more color in there. I need to add my yellow. So I'm going to grab, again, the diamonds, and I'm going to put them basically in between the other diamonds, or yeah, I'm going to call those diamonds. And kind of lay it, make sure it's all nice and even, where I can see little blue points in all four sides of the opening of the stencil. Just hang on to it and then flip it over and tape it down. Alright, that's ready to roll. Now I'm going to grab the shooting star and my brush, and I'm just going to stencil that in. And I'm going pretty heavy with my color again. Okay, I'm happy with that. This will be trimmed down. So now I've got my sort of circusy looking colors. And doesn't that lunar paste just shine? It looks so beautiful. So I'm going to trim this down, and I'm going to use my decal trimmer, and I'm going to trim it to 4 by 5 1/4. 3 3/4 by 5. And I like to use the decal trimmer for this because it kind of gives it a, I don't know, some more of a rustic-y, chickeny feel. And then I'm grabbing my guppy, and I'm going to edge this with the guppy, so that we've got the whole 4 colors here in this scheme. I'm looking for a brush to do it with. I'm just going to use one of my small brushes. And I'm just going to kind of go along the edges and bring in that orange color. Just to add extra body, I guess. And I'm just kind of doing it in a vignette fashion. You don't have to do this. Just, I like the way it looks, so I did. And then I'm just very light going over the entire thing with the guppy, just to pull it all together. Because that'll fill in any little white spaces there. And we're done with that part. Now all we need to do is stick that down to a card base. Let me go ahead and just wipe off any excess with a clean paper towel. Just wiping that off of my lunar paste. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn my email down, and I moved my location where I do my voiceover, so I can't reach over to turn it off. Let's see. I want to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and use this craft sheet. It's just a scrap piece as a matte layer, and so I'll go ahead and cut that to 4 by 5 1/4 with the decal trimmer again. You can see I've been cutting buttons. It makes good in-betweens for my paper buttons. So I keep, my scraps. And then I'm going to glue that down there. So I've got 2 decal trimmed layers. Alright, looking good, looking good. Just make sure that's good and flat on there. And then I'm going to stick this all onto a card base. And looking through my card bases, trying to decide which one. I make a lot of my card bases ahead of time. Like way ahead of time. So I'm thinking either yellow or orange. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the yellow. Just to bring yellow such a happy color. I'm gonna glue this straight down because our little chicken is gonna be wobbly on there, so he's gonna have the dimension. All right, happy with that. Good. Let's see here. Let's look at our placement. I'm going to grab one of these action wobblers, these smaller ones. Looking for them. Here they are. And I'm just going to stick it to the back of the chicken there. Now, I never know which part, but I believe that the clearer part goes towards the card. And I'm going to stick this on, just kind of like eyeball the middle of this chicken and stick it down. I may move it. See, these, I'm not real crazy about these wobblers because they tend to be, I don't know, make the thing kind of top heavy. So I'm going to pop it off and try and place it in a different spot. See if I have better luck with it not tipping. Now when you hold the card up, it stands up fine. It doesn't tip like that. But let's see if it'll go any better right here. You know, at some point I'll have to live with it, so there's that. See if I can stretch this out any. I'm going to move it one more time. Probably should have cut this part out. Didn't realize that I did that. Yep, he was better than before. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just commit already and glue this down. I think the bigger action wobblers are better. And you could just seriously just pop them up on foam tape. I just thought this would be fun. Getting the backer off of this is never fun. It's kind of difficult to get off, but you know, you muddle through. Come on. Yeah, maybe some tweezers will help. It's just very hard to grab that tiny little piece. Okay, now let's get our placement. I want room here at the bottom for my sentiment. Not at the very bottom, but you know, right under him. And I'm going to commit and stick them down. And see, when you hold the card up, it wobbles. I can move it though. Yeah, I'm going to add some glue to that as well, just to make sure that it sticks, because you know, it popped pretty off that lunar paste pretty easy, so I want to make sure I can trust it. I'm just going to give that a push and then just let it sit and dry for a minute while we do our sentiment. And I'm just using my tweezers to make sure that it's stuck down all the way around. There he is. See, when you hold the card up, it doesn't do that weird thing, but when you lay it down, it tends to want to flop over like a floppy chicken. So I'm going to use the sentiment, my favorite one in the group. I'm glad you're one of my peeps. Or so glad you're one of my peeps. Love that one. Because you guys are all my peeps. Yeah. And I'm going to stamp that obviously on a separate piece of paper. Let me just wobble this a little more, make sure it's good and stuck down. And I'll go ahead and grab my piece of paper here. And I think this is just a piece of accent opaque paper. I'm kind of stingy with my Simon Hurley paper because, well, I'm almost out. I haven't ordered more. I tend to not order from Ranger until I have a big order. Just because, you know, shipping, and it's not their fault. That's just shipping's expensive. I'm trying not to waste this whole piece of paper. I'm just going to set that down in the corner there, and I'm going to do the same procedure here with the bee sting ink. And this, you know, a smaller stamp, obviously the sentiment stamps stamp out really well with Simon's ink. All right. One more. I want it nice and red. Okay, I'm positive that's going to be enough stamping of that. Turning on my heat tool, I think. I don't know. I made this video a couple of days ago. Yep, that's what I'm doing. Grabbing my Versamark again and stamping it down onto the stamp. And I'm not going to use any anti-static powder because it's not a big deal. And you saw my magnets do that, didn't you? And go ahead and pour some clear embossing powder over it. Get that out of my way and hit this with my heat tool. And we're almost done, friends. This was a long video. Sorry about that. It was a lot, you know, introducing all this stuff and, you know, not cutting out a whole lot, just speeding up a little bit. Took it a little while. I am going to fussy cut this out as soon as it's cooled off. Touch it. Check. First I'm going to add some, just what's left on my brush of the shooting star. Just want to make sure that's not sticky in any way. Just to add a little bit of color before I cut it out. And just a little bit of the guppy too. And then I'll go ahead and fussy cut that. And that's going to be an easy cut. So I like to cut it out away from the big piece first because I can't maneuver around big pieces. I'm going to get just a little bit more color in here. And I'm just going to cut around it. I kind of like to sort of make it rounded around these corners best I can. This one's pretty easy to fussy cut. I wonder who invented that term fussy cut. Had to be, I don't know. It's an interesting term. As opposed to what? Rough cut? I don't know. Well, whatever. Just one of those things that sometimes you wonder. And I'm going to, let's see, do I want to pop this up or not? Yeah, I'm going to pop it up on a little bit of foam tape. And that'll be pretty much, we'll be done with our card. I want to thank Simon Hurley again for inviting me to design for his new release. The March release, and thank Ranger as well for sending me all the products so that I could design them for you. And stay tuned for lots of videos coming up because you saw those goodies I got. I'm sure not going to leave anybody hanging by not making videos with them. And also, you know, thank you guys all for coming to hang out with me while I spent 30 some minutes making this video. I might make it a premiere so that, you know, we can hang out and talk. Whoops, that little guy's gotten away from me. I don't know, we'll see. Yeah. Getting tired, you can tell, right? Ah, love it. I love this. I do. There we go. That's our card. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you like this video and leave a comment down below. And please use my links down below if you're shopping. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps me, you know, buy some more eggs and chickens. So we use the Geo Circles and we use the Spring Chicken. And we use the Lunar Paste and No Diving. Here we are, a little bit closer. And I hope you all have just a wonderful day.